Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Youth Empowerment Live Forum hosted by Serenity Resource Connector. Did you miss me? Because I missed you. My name is Clevena Brown, and I am your Youth Forum host. So, we're excited to have you joining us because the discussion is titled From Yaad to the World Inspiring Youth Stories, Christmas traditions, and hopes for 2026. So, this forum is all about reflection and vision. And as we move into the Christmas season and prepare for a new year, we're highlighting young leaders who are using their voices to create impact both locally and beyond. But before we continue, of course, we have to say a special thank you to our forum sponsor, Juici Patties, who has consistently supported youth engagement and community dialogue. And we truly appreciate their partnership with SRC. And we now move on to introduce our panelists. Now, first, we have someone who is no stranger to the SRC platform, Andrew Johnson. Now, a little bit about Andrew, if you don't know. Hi, Andrew. He is the chairman of the National Youth Council of Jamaica and continues to selflessly represent young people at the national level with purpose and leadership. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm great. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here once again. And of course, I'm looking forward to our discussion, our conversation. Of course, always open to represent the youth of Jamaica in any capacity.
Of course, and I see your smile is beaming. I love your energy. So we're gonna go right into the conversation soon. So Andrew is not alone. He's joined by Danielle Mullings, a familiar face. If you recognize her, she is from your TV screens, particularly TVJ. Danielle is a member of the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica and is also my former guild president. So, to everyone watching, these are our panelists for tonight. How are you feeling, Danielle?
I'm so excited to be here, honestly. It's always good to be talking to Jamaican young people and sharing the stories that can help everybody.
Of course, and you touched on stories, and that's exactly what we're here to do, tell our stories. So, to everyone watching, feel free to engage with us in the comment section and tell us how you're feeling. What are your thoughts as we go along? So, to get started, our first segment is actually called Youth on the Rise. So, we're going to be talking about representation stories, and we're going to go right into the discussion. So I'm so excited to hear from you both. And my first question is, what was one defining moment this year when you felt the true impact of your voice? Like when you recognized, okay, people are listening to me, they're taking me seriously. When was that moment? Oh, anyone can go ahead first. You can't all go at once.
Andrew,
I'll allow Daniel to go first, of course.
first. Sure. So interestingly, the moment I have from this year is not one in which I was, speaking or like, so typically when I'm going to different events or so on, I'm invited as a speaker, panelist or a moderating or something like that.
Yeah.
And this year, I was invited to an event in Switzerland and flown from Jamaica to there in around May. And I was invited just to attend, right, and just be a participant to soak up all of the materials for the week. They had flown young leaders from all over the world, and I was really like touched deeply by it because I said, wow, it's the first time in a long time that I'm just in a space to like be a participant and soak up all of the knowledge and materials here. And they see value in having me just be here overall. I don't have to give anything back, so to speak. So I thought that was really moving, and it made me say, wow, okay, in this global space, I'm also seen as a young leader. And it's been an honor to be able to grow in that and represent Jamaica in these different spaces.
Nice, wonderful, Daniel. And of course, I'll just follow up. For me, I asked myself a question for the entire year. Am I doing enough? Yes, I found myself asking the question. I don't want to give away my age, but I'm now transitioning from the youth age, and I was reflecting to see if I've done enough. No, I didn't really have anything to show to say I'm doing enough. I will ask person's question. I don't want to sound doubtful as well, but when this year I would have received the Primary State Award for national leadership. And before I went in that interview, I said to myself, one day if I've done enough, I've served on platforms, but I really did not know how to gauge how well I'm being received. Yes, I get the feel, but I just wanted a confirmation. And being the recipient for that award, it showed me that, whenever I go to spaces to represent, I am doing a very good job. And of course, I'm even encouraged to continue as I look to pivot, transition from the space to more, national leadership outside of youth. And of course, youth being incorporated still, I want to see how best I can improve based on what I've learned over the year. And when I thought that was the defining factor for the year, to the end of the year, I was drafted by the Non-Aligned Movement Youth Organization. And when I got the call, I saw the strange number coming in. I said, this number looks, I can't even pick up the area code. And, when I was talking on the phone, I was saying to myself, who really recommended me? First, I say that someone replicable in the country recommended me to serve on the board. And I said, I still want to know who it is, right? But nevertheless, I entertained the conversation. And what I found very interesting, and I want Jamaican, especially Jamaican young people, to feel proud about how they represent it. When I had that first conversation, it transformed from just being a part of the board, serving, representing Jamaica, but representing the Caribbean. When that half an hour conversation I had, when I spoke about how I approach leadership in Jamaica, what it means to me, and of course, just selling myself, selling my country, I was now being pushed to think about representing the Caribbean. And of course, I'm proud to say that I've become the first Jamaican to represent the Caribbean on the platform as a board executive member. So of
Nice.
course, this I believe that's a defining factor for me, because I moved from asking the question if I'm doing enough locally, and of course, when I translate it to the global representation, I see that I am, of course, doing a very good job, or are being received well. So of course, that is a defining factor for me for this year.
Wow, both of you, that those were two heartwarming experiences that you both shared. And something that I gathered from the both of you is just show up as your best self wherever you go. Because, Daniel, I'm sure from that Switzerland experience, they invited you because they saw your progress. They saw that what you had to offer was meaningful. And, Andrew, that half hour conversation turned into something much greater. So, always show up as your best self, and people will see the value in your own voice, and you will eventually see it yourself as well. So
Absolutely.
moving right along, how, yeah, of course. So how has representing young people locally or globally shaped your leadership journey?
All right. So in terms of how it shapes my leadership journey, I want to give my very first, my first notable representation at the local level. I would say that is when I represented as a student representative for the School of Engineering. Right. I was in a bubble. I told myself, every time I reflect on the journey, I feel like I was in a bubble. Yes, I was just doing territory representation. I didn't care about national representation. I didn't care about anything outside of the School of Engineering, really. And of course, because I'm dealing with the like-minded person, we have the same culture. I would have taken a specific approach, and I believe that was the best way, and the only way to lead, not having any exposure. And then when I started to transition to the global space, I realized that diversity is very important to consider. So what I could have done in my leadership capacity at the School of Engineering at UTech, I couldn't have done when I was the student representative for my master's program at Brunel University, London. I had to take a different approach. I had to listen twice as much as I speak, because I had to understand the space I am in, and understand the people I'm serving, and of course, so I can be effective in leadership. So what I would have realized locally and globally, even though there are a lot of similarities, because standards are never compromised. When there's a standard, there's a standard. And of course, it applies anywhere. But the diversity in terms of culture is something that, I pay keen attention to when it comes on to local representation versus global.
Nice. I think for me, I had started out as head girl back in high school, and it was a point in which I wasn't expecting to be selected as head girl. But then when I was selected, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna of course put my best foot forward. And I think what I truly fell in love with was just talking to all the different students across each form, and like, talking to them about their hopes, their aspirations, their dreams, and sort of impressing upon them that, um these are in reach if you keep putting time in and work towards them, over a length of time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but that doesn't mean that you're not capable and not able to do so. And I think once I had a huge emphasis on this idea of like inspirational leadership, which isn't, I feel like it's not spoken about as much. Like typically they're like, you need to, as a leader, keep people in line, keep people, uniform must be correct and the socks must be a certain inch and whatever, all of that. But I focus a lot on how do you inspire people and sort of build a movement of sorts. And I felt like that went quite well, because by the time graduation came around, there were people's parents coming up to me and saying, my kids can't stop talking about you, or my kids said you helped them to, think about X and Y and Z. And that moved me so much. I said to myself, nobody's parent has to come to me and say anything. Nobody ever has to go home and even say anything positive about me. So I felt very, honored to be able to create something like that. And I think that kind of transitioned into university and being guild president. Again, I had no intention of going for guild president. But I love science and technology. I'm always driven by the sciences, technology, and young people. And leadership has just kind of come on the side with that, because I'm also good in that area. But it's not usually what I set out to do. So I started out as FST rep. And again, that same idea of how do I build a movement of young people that believe more in themselves and believe in this, coherent and collaborative vision that we all have. So I was like, yes, we're the faculty of greatness. And I'm trying to indoctrinate everybody. I'm like, we're the faculty of greatness. You have to be excellent and, operate from that standpoint. And from there, as that vision grew, then I'm being pulled in to say, oh, she actually would be a good guild president candidate. So it's interesting, I think, how I focus so much on, trying to build other people. And I feel like that's something that when you give like that, it just kind of comes back to you twofold, threefold. But it has really had a big impact on me, because as a leader, I'm also just very inspired by every young person that I work with. So it's a mutual, benefit in that sense.
Yes.
Lovely things coming out from the both of you there. And I can't help but pinpoint the fact that both of you guys were just open to possibilities on your journey. You guys didn't set out for a particular thing, right? But it just came along on the journey and you embraced it. And that's kind of what leadership is all about. I'm assuming once you're in it, you get new issues, you meet new people that you're faced with, and it's just a lot of things that you have to either embrace it or leave it. And when you choose to embrace it, that's when you see a beauty come out of it that you would have never imagined. So I love your guys' story when it goes on to how has it shaped your journey.
Yes.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, and just to summarize, based on what myself and Danielle would have alluded to, it is very important to take away that leadership is way beyond the visibility. It's really focused on accountability, right? And you would have spoken about how she should have taken a very accountable approach, that hands-on approach with the students that she's serving, and how well that ripple effect would have gotten into the household. Who knows? Maybe the parents were inspired by her as a young leader at that age, right? So accountability is very important. I mean, the visibility comes. You're the head girl. Yes, that comes naturally comes the visibility. But of course, accountability is very important, and accountability ties with integrity, transparency, all of these nice core values. So that's very important. A part of a good and effective leadership journey.
Yeah, and going back to that point, something that Danielle also mentioned is inspirational leadership. And I find that when you have a leader in front of you that you feel as though listens to you and sees you beyond the hierarchy and the structure that, okay, they're above me, I'm below them. No, but they see you. And when you feel like you're seen by someone, you're more motivated, and it's just a more productive space to get work done collaboratively. So amazing, amazing point brought out there. Now, I want to go into a bit of misconceptions that are tossed around, leadership. People have a lot of opinions, but I want to hear from you guys specifically. What is one misconception about youth leadership that you'd like to challenge? Who'd like to take that one first?
That's why. That's why. All right, I'll take it first, Daniel, if you mind.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I'm looking. Well, I hope if if nobody listens to any part of this discussion, they hear this part, especially the young people, are part of different spaces, right? One I think one of the biggest misconception, in all honesty, especially when you're serving different youth groups in Jamaica, let's say National Youth Council of Jamaica, National Youth Parliament, National Secondary Students Council, and the rest under the Ministry of Education, Skills and Information, and Youth, is that persons believe that, especially for you to be a part of discussions with ministers or major stakeholders, or for your voice to be heard, you have to be politically aligned, right? That's a big misconception, and one of the reasons why I want to use the opportunity to address it, because as the chairman of National Youth Council and as the past deputy chairman of the Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica, many persons would have jumped to a conclusion and assumption that, okay, if I'm going to serve in these capacities, or if he's serving in these capacities, he has to be politically affiliated, and most times they're aligned with the reigning party, right? But that's a misconception, and many persons actually best believe they actually withhold or have a resistance in moving forward because they believe that they have to be politically aligned to serve and for their voices to be heard. And I believe that's the biggest misconception, right? I'm not saying I'm not politically aligned, right? But I'm sure to say that I haven't, pushed that out in the atmosphere any at all, right? And I don't believe that, my progression um, would have been taking place because of any political influence, right? So yes, that's a misconception. I want to just make young people know that if you have a desire to serve, and if it means a lot to you, the doors are there. There are a lot of platforms. They are very well tailored to different areas of youth and national leadership that you can be a part of. And I implore you, if you have it in mind to serve, you can go ahead and start now. And I'm making open my platforms through the National Youth Council and through my personal page, and wherever you can reach me, anybody you see I'm affiliated with, so you can try to start the process, and I'll definitely assist you in making it happen.
Big point there, Andrew. And in fact, that's the first thing that also came to my mind around affiliation, because I feel like I faced so much of that, especially when I was running for guild president, and people are saying, "No, man, you have to align with somebody," and I was like, I just don't think that in this moment that we're in at that time, it's COVID-19 pandemic and so on. I was like, I don't think what we need right now is politics in that sense. Right. Of course, politics takes on many forms, but I didn't feel that that form was needed in the time. I said, no, what people need right now is to be heard and to be listened to, regardless of, whatever affiliation they may have. That's not the thing that should be the forefront. So I have to agree with that. But the other piece I would say there is, at least for me as well, I found that persons coming from different fields, so like a science and technology field, would have the impression that maybe they're not, cut out for leadership in that same way. Like they're kind of leaving it for those who are in like the social sciences or in other spaces. And so even just me, trying to be a leader of the entire campus and coming from the Faculty of Science and Technology, people are like, no, man, she must have a whole heap of time because the sciences must be getting you down, and to do that kind of balance between that hectic workload and that. But what I would really like to then impress upon young people is, it doesn't matter what your field is or where you're coming from. There's this whole idea of being able to package the type of expertise that you have based on the experiences that you've had in life, as well as your unique interests. And there's almost a never ending overlap that you can have between whatever area of interest it may be. So something I've really tried to push over and over and over is, it doesn't matter if you're from the sciences or if you're from medicine or you're from wherever. That doesn't invalidate your experience as a leader, and it means that you can bring something different to the table, whatever it may be. So I found from the sciences, I'm bringing a kind of like analytical engineering type
Yeah.
mindset leadership. So I love the numbers, and saying, I'd sit down with the principal and say, no man, look, I did my survey, I got 2,000 responses, 500 of them said this, and the reason them said that is, I'm disaggregating data like I would do in class. Like it's actually something that you can transfer. Or I would take things from my software engineering classes. Like half of my classes are just about project management and people management to get a software product out the door. I literally would use a lot of the techniques taught to me in class to run the guild around
Nice.
agile project management and how you inspire a team to work together. So there's so much transferability in the skill sets and experiences that you have to look out for as a leader, and stop disqualifying yourself because you don't have maybe the traditional type of background.
Absolutely agree.
I agree with you both. Very strong points. And I want to thank you for your transparency, because I'm sure if there's someone watching, they can definitely agree that, okay, wow, I don't need to be politically affiliated with such party or this party. You can just show up as yourself, you know. You just show up as yourself, and your values, your core values, and what you're about, and and who you're caring for, the demographic that you're trying to reach. I'm pretty sure that they'll see you for who you are, and that is what they'll focus on rather than the noise, because it's very important that you cloud out the noise. Because if you focus on that, you get carried away. And just as Danielle said, it's best to try to find your unique talent, the thing that you fancy, and transfer it into where you want to go, because it's a never ending journey. Once you combine what you love with, whether it is your career field or just a passion or a hobby, that's the way to go. Definitely. So thank you guys for your transparency there. And Sanique MC said, hello, good night. I'm excited for this session. Let's go. And I'm happy someone else is feeling the excitement. Shakira Wright says, good evening. Two of my favorite youth leaders in the same place. Wow. Guys, keep your comments rolling. Annabelle Morgan 2808 said, here from the National Youth Council of Jamaica, and she left a heart. Keep your comments going, guys. We love to hear from you. We love to interact with you. And if you're on your leadership journey, leave a question in the chat as well. Sanique also said, being oneself is a different type of energy in any atmosphere. And I definitely agree with you, Sanique. Own yourself, be who you are, and people are going to value you. I
Yeah, that one
definitely.
load up for the person in the background to kind of hear Sonic.
Yeah, man. Be yourself. And Sonic, I love your comments, and keep the engagement going, guys. So we're transitioning into a segment where we talk about more like when was the moment that you found your voice? On your guys' journey, you both mentioned that, okay, you didn't start in this place, but you kind of ended up in a different space. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot of self-reflection that took place. So I definitely want to ask you guys, what inspired you to step forward as a leader? What sparked that interest?
I think so. It's funny because I've started reflecting on like my childhood, and I feel like there's so many answers within our childhood, like just from who we were before we had to start, thinking about what society thinks of us and trying to play into that. And I remember this one time when I was little, we had gone over to my godparents' house, and I think it was around Christmas time, and I wanted to go to, there was like a nearby park or something there, and I wanted to go to the park. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and get every little person, every other little, young person that's in this place to also agree. I'm like 7 at this time or 6. I'm gonna get everybody to agree that we should go. And I got maybe about 15 kids to line up and be ready to go out to the park. I went to my godfather and I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I got everybody lined up, let's go. And he's just looking at me dumbfounded. And all of the adults are like, how did you get our kids to line up firstly and be interested in the same, goal? And so it's like, it's funny now looking back at it, where I'm like, that actually is a very, very early example of leadership and uniting people towards a common goal, and getting everybody excited about the same common goal and telling them what is required in order to achieve it. We have to line up, we have to be quiet and make sure that we try and get it. So that's one of the earliest moments where I said, okay, I see myself stepping forward in this way. And when I even look at like prep school again, at that point, I'm creating study guides for the class. I had started that day where I was like, guys, let's make today reading day. Let's all bring books and exchange and da-da-da. And again, I remember the teacher coming in the class and saying, are you guys okay? Like, why is everybody reading? And like, you don't have to be reading right now. Like, this is of your own free will. And I was like, Miss, I had this bright idea. It's reading day. We all brought different books. And she's just looking at me like, how did you get them to do this? So it's, I think, different moments where I now reflect on my life. I'm like, it has been something that's instinctive for me. And I really enjoy bringing young people in particular together around a common goal and inspiring everybody to see beyond who they are now and to see what they could become in the future. So I think that's really what has inspired me through and through from I was young.
Yes, wonderful. Well, for my story, that is a bit different, Daniel. I didn't understand and appreciate leadership in any folds when I was growing up. I will say this: I attended Golden Grove Artist School, and even though I was embodying leadership, I didn't know, I didn't care really and truly. I just wanted to give trouble. Yes, I was the smartest in the class. I was the best at sports, and I remember even when my mom was an active member on the PTA, and she used to go to the meetings, the one-on-one with the teachers, and they used to say, Andrew is good at this, he's good at that, but there's always a but. He gives too much trouble, right? So for that reason, I didn't see myself as a leader. I saw myself as someone that maybe give too much trouble, I need to fix myself, right? But what I found myself doing a lot, right, and I've reflected on it, is that I was so indulged in the national days. I love to hear when it's Independence Day, Emancipation Day, Labor Day. I was so invested. And I remember every time, I was the one to remind the entire community that Labor Day is coming and we need to clean the sidewalks. Yes. So I was the one to, go collect money, and I used to carry, even if it's just $1,000, which maybe can't buy a lot. I used to be the one to collect the money and say, Mommy, this is what I collected. We need to buy the paints. And I feel like the one to actually bought the paints. But of course, my mom would add some money to it. And, I was actively trying to see if the Labor Day procedures can go in. And then I realized that, even though, people used to say I give out trouble, I was being a natural leader, right? And I did not know that until I went to Monroe College, and I was keeping that same momentum of giving trouble and, getting that, much too talkative but very brilliant student. And there was an incident in high school, and I was given a second chance. The then Bradford Gale, my principal, he spoke to me about, what the type of student he sees me as. And I was even surprised that he recognized me, right? But of course, I believe I was outstanding. And when he spoke to me, I started to look on things differently. The importance of trying to curtail that energy that I put into, giving trouble. I try to break rules behind the scenes. And of course, put it into being a representation, or to represent my peers. They see me in the light of positivity. And that's when I really changed and made a transition. So many persons like Danielle inspired me, yes, but in terms of that turning point to convert my energy to that productive kinetic energy, I believe that was that talk from Mr. Bradford Gale. And since then, I think when I see how impactful or how positive it is when I change or curtail my behavior, I couldn't go back. Yes. Of course, I still got the urge. I still, even today, sometimes I feel like I want to break a rule or two. But of course, I know that people are looking. And I know that persons believe that, guess what? This guy brings hope. And besides the hat I wear for myself, I'm wearing the hat for many persons. And of course, I keep inspired to ensure that I am on that path so I can inspire others to do great things in leadership and other areas as well.
What I love about how different both of you guys' story are, but the core of it is still the same. Whether or not it's something leadership was innate to you, like Danielle, when you were about like what, 7, gathering children around to complete a common goal, or like Andrew, or something that you kind of figured out along the way. You didn't really pinpoint it as leadership, but other people saw it in you. It always goes back to who is it for, and it's about others and completing a common goal. So if your story is sounding like either of theirs, leadership is not something that's far-fetched for you, and it's possible. Shakira commented and she said, I have a question. How did you deal with multiple personalities in your early stage of leadership?
That's a really interesting question. Um, so I would say maybe as guild president, it was very, very difficult. Honestly, every day I woke up, I felt like I was playing a game of chess. actually. And I don't even play chess, but it just felt like it was that level of difficulty, So at that point, I would be trying to manage, the more, I guess, like diplomatic, academic type personalities, which would be like the university administration. And then you have students who are coming from all ranges and backgrounds of life. Would be like 18,000 students who are dispersed not only across the country, but across other countries within the region as well. Or we have international students too. What I found is that you have to meet people where they are. So the way I would speak to, the principal or even any other member of administration is vastly different from the way that I would speak to a student. And the only way you can achieve that in terms of knowing how to respond and speak with them is by starting off with listening. Like, listening is an underrated skill and asset that I think a lot of leaders overlook, because you think you're in this position to be telling John go left and Mary go right and whoever else, whichever direction. Honestly, you have to start off with knowing and understanding your team. So I usually try and start out by, just meeting with my team members, and then also trying to go out and meet with different groups of students. But I'm not just going there to talk about my plans. I'm going to say, what do you actually want to get done? What are you actually interested in? What drives you? And there's no good or bad thing that drives a person. You just want to understand what is it to begin with. That's now where you start to use that to create a base where you say, okay, this type of person is looking for this type of thing. So when I approach them, I kind of start with that, or whatever their interest area is, I'm kind of leading with that, even if, what is, and then I try and bridge that between what they may want and what is feasible and what I can provide within that framework. So I'm very honest and open as well to say, honestly, I can't provide all of this, but what I can provide is this. And I'm hoping that when I provide this, it creates XYZ. So it's a little bit layered and something that you really have to think about and have that nuance in, but it fundamentally comes with understanding and listening to people. And this is a space where I think, because I know we always or think that, to be a leader, you need to be extroverted. Like, I'm actually quite introverted. I mean, I'll come on here and speak and talk well and go up on a stage or whatever. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm actually very quiet. I'm a homebody. Like, I'm very chill. And I found that at first I used to discredit that, or think that it would, be something that operates against me. But actually, I have a skill set now where I can just sit and listen to people for a very long period of time. And they almost don't expect me to, because of the positions I've held before. But I sit, listen, and what I'm really doing is understanding you as an individual, and then using that to, respond.
All right, Daniel, listening to you speak, I must say I realize that we have a lot in common. Besides, I'm more of an extrovert, maybe an ambivert. But for me, a lot of what you said, I agree with. And for me, though, I believe I learned on the job. I believe I learned on the job. I had the impression that, leadership is you are given the task, so whatever you say goes. Yes. So at the end of the day, whatever I say, that is the final decision, is despite different views on the matter at hand. But over time, I realized and I learned on the job. And the two things I want to highlight that have helped me a lot in terms of learning on the job. One, peers. I want to say that I always tell my friends or a person I consider very close to me that if I have a tear in my pants or a stain on my shirt, I don't expect that someone that I don't know, I interact with them to tell me. Yes, they may tell me no, but the possibility is low. I expect my friend to come and tell me, Andrew, you didn't realize you have a stain on the shirt? Carry me outside. You have all ammunition to do that to me. I expect that. I want you to tell me whenever I'm doing something wrong or when there's something off. And that is what the approach where I learned on the job that I would have taken in leadership. I always have peers around me, because I believe that leaders are not persons who necessarily do the greatest things, but get persons who do the greatest things, and of course go towards a shared vision. And I usually have friends around me, notable names, John D. Henry, Aldous Ennis, Rajiv Danvers. These people. People online know that I always around these persons, right? Another person, Sujay Boswell. But I'll tell them to tell me so I can keep grounded. So tell me if I'm doing something off. Was I received well? Did I come off too strong? Tell me, because I want to fix it going forward. And I realized when I took that approach, I realized that over time I improve my approach to leadership, especially with deal with multi personalities, and of course myself. I need to be myself as well. And mentorship. So there are persons that have been a part of these journeys before us in many capacities. And of course, they know they have been in the same position and maybe worse when they were going through the same thing we're going through. And when they can share their input, they can share the outcome and give you advice. Trust me, makes you a couple steps ahead of the place that you were. Right. So peers and of course mentorship. And of course you have to pick your mentor wisely. That's another conversation. But of course I found that those two areas were critical in me leading and of course deal with multiple personalities that I developed.
Thank you guys for your honesty there. Shakira, I hope that answered your question. And if there's anyone else like Shakira who has a question to ask, please feel free. This is the moment. Capitalize on it and go ahead and ask those questions. And Daniel, something that you talked about that I just wanted to add to. I was in a training session recently and I learned a technique that when you're speaking to people and you're listening to them, you have something called the heart, the head, and the hand issue when you're listening to them. So, just as what Danielle was saying, if it's a matter of the heart, the person that you're speaking to, if you notice that they feel like, that they don't believe in themselves or they feel like they're not good enough, then that's maybe an issue of the heart that you're dealing with. If you realize that they understand the concept of what they're to do, but they're not really sure how to get there, maybe it's a hand issue, like an issue of strategy. And if it's something that you realize that they just don't understand something, it's not clear to them, maybe it's something of like, the head. So yeah, just something I wanted to add my little 2 cents in there, but definitely great responses. And Shakira, if you have any other questions, feel free, leave it in the chat. We're here to answer. So moving right along, if you just joined, we're talking about the moment where, they would have found their voice. And I want to ask you guys both, if you could share a challenge that you faced this year and what it taught you.
Hmm. Well, I'll go first. One of the things that I learned this year for sure, because I was always of the view, I'm kind of trying to resurface now. I was always of the view that I can balance my time the best. It comes to time management, I'm the best at it, right? And one of the challenge I would have faced this year is that I would have calculated the year to the T. I know exactly when I'm going to finish my tenureship on youth council. I know exactly when this is going to start, when that is going to end. And what I saw happen, how it's translated, is that I made some plans, for example, to pivot and to transition to different areas when my tenureship ends for the National Youth Council, the beginning of November. And we know that what happened is that we had the Hurricane Melissa, right? And of course, because of Hurricane Melissa, elections were postponed. I'm still the chairman. I'm not saying I'm happy to be the chairman, but of course, I'd have expected from way before that, by November, end of November, I'll be out of office. So I took up a lot of things. I applied to be the executive member for the Jamaica Institute of Engineers. I was successful. I started my PhD. I took up some things and I believe that I would have offloaded some things. And I realized that, because of the overlapping, I have to be balancing more than I expected. And what happened, the whole that translated to for myself, having to prioritize more. I find myself tired sometimes and, also want to cut off from the world because I want to recoup to go again because whatever I do, I want to do at the highest standard. So not because I have more than what I would have expected, I'm going to compromise standard. I want to ensure that whatever I'm doing is of high quality, right? So I have to ensure that quality is maintained by balancing everything. So that is a major challenge I face this year in terms of, but of course, I'm happy. I'm happy for all these opportunities because based on what I've said, these are good opportunities. These are things, of course, to edify myself, to build myself, and of course, things that will help me in the long run. So I'm going it through now, still in the process of trying to balance, and of course, that challenge. But of course, a true leader in me will overcome it. Yeah. So that's, I think, one of the main challenges I've faced this year.
Honestly, Andrew, that's such a big issue. Time management and being able to balance so many different things. And I have to agree with you that was something I really pushed or struggled with this year. But I think I'm getting better at it. I hope so. It's what the challenge really is learning how to say no to things. especially when you're somebody who sees possibility or opportunity in every space, and it's like you want to get the most out of it, but you start to spread yourself thin after a while. And so actually coming into this year, my whole like mantra, I have like a theme for each year, and my theme for this year was contentment. That was what I was seeking to try to embody. And it's this idea, my definition of it is sort of balancing my ambition and in leadership with being content at the same time with all that I have around me and all that I have achieved to date. And that sounds simple, but it is very difficult to do. And I think it has taken me the entire year to reach that place finally now where I'm like, actually, I'm very content. I'm extremely self-aware. I understand what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I recognize that my strengths don't make me the best person in the world and to feel that I'm better than other people. But at the same time, my weaknesses don't disqualify me from stepping in different spaces. And it's kind of this push and pull between, or a yin and yang between two sides. And I think that has been very interesting to navigate throughout the year, and just be able to arrive in this space where I'm very content with where I am. It's easier for me to hear, no's or handle rejection as well as also being able to myself turn down some opportunities because I'm saying there's too much on my plate right now, and realistically, I can't manage more. So it's, I think, a bit of what Andrew was saying and tying it in with this idea of contentment and feeling okay in yourself, especially when you're a type A type achiever.
Yes.
I want to thank you guys both for just being transparent and honest, because I feel like a lot of the times leaders, they share where they shine, but people kind of hide where it is they find their difficulty. They keep it whether within their inner circle or not much to other people at all, because that they have this image of perfection to keep up. But by you sharing, I'm sure someone who is probably struggling right now or kind of figuring out their leadership journey, it's okay if you've not yet found your balance. It's a work in progress and you figure it out along the way. So thank you guys for your honesty. And I really like, Danielle, your theme that you have for each year. So her theme for this year was contentment. And I'd love if you guys could drop in the chat. Have you figured out what your next year's theme is? Because I know we're in the stage of vision board and planning for next year. So do you plan on having a theme? Leave it in the chat below. Now that you guys have shared things that you may have struggled with, I want to go into a little lighter side of life, a more positive side of it all. So who or what keeps you grounded as you navigate leadership?
Okay. Who or what keeps me grounded? I think my family. My family is the biggest grounding force in all of this. And one thing that my mom has always emphasized is making sure that no matter how high I fly, I remain humble and recognize that all of these achievements and so on don't make me who I am. They are a part of it, but at the end of the day, I'm still valuable. Like with or without them, I'm still a whole person. So yeah, my family has been very grounding. I talk to my parents like every day, multiple times every day, and my younger brother also keeps me current and hip. He's much younger than me, about nearly 10 years younger than me, so he keeps me up to date with all that's going on in that age group. So it's nice to have that balance in terms of yes, it's amazing to go all over the world and do these amazing things and sit in lovely leadership positions, but at the end of the day, you're still a human being and you need that support. And one thing I'll say here as well is this was an area I recognized was a major weakness for me a couple years back, like 3 years or 4 years back. I was in a position where I was going through a lot emotionally, and I said to myself, wow, I have not even spent enough time cultivating the type of friendships and family relationships and relationships overall that would support me in a moment like this, because I'm usually the strong friend who is supporting everybody else. And I haven't allowed myself to be vulnerable enough with my friends and family to show that side of me that also needs support. And so it's something I've been extremely on top of in the past 3-4 years. And it has made a world of a difference in terms of establishing your whole identity.
Yes. I'm going to share a joke. I'm not sure if many persons will get it, but to the extent that which I value and love grounding, I did electrical engineering. All right. All right. So to be honest, grounded, of course, my family, I would say, heads that list, and of course, my faith. I say my faith, and the communities I serve also, keep me grounded. They serve as a constant reminder of my purpose and keep me accountable to lead with integrity, humility, and of course, consistency. And why I want to highlight that is because I'm always of the view as well that if I am a leader, I am always to lead by example. I know we hear it a lot, right? But it cannot be overemphasized. When you're a leader, you have to lead by example, right? And you lead by example, not what people see, what people perceive of you, right? So if I, for example, I cannot go to an event like the fund event that Danielle hosts through the UNICEF platform or UNESCO, right? Yes, and they know that I'm the chairman of the youth council. Youth council members are there. Daniel should be able to have a conversation with youth council members and say, say hi to your chairman because and tell that he's doing a good job. These things are motivate young people and people that you serve and the community you serve, on a day-to-day basis. Even you're not there, your name should be, powerful to the point where it is received well. So I think that is very important to highlight. Because I would never, for example, if I'm invited to speak on behalf of National Youth Council, you see on my caption, you say Chairman, National Youth Council of Jamaica, and I know that I'm not serving young people effectively and I'm not doing my job effectively. You can't get me on this platform, I would hide, I would dodge every call. I don't never want to be in such a position, right? So you keep you grounded are these, very important factors. All these factors I mentioned, the family, the faith, the communities you serve, should have that importance to you in your life. You should value them, right? And once you value them, you realize that your actions, that the action that comes afterwards would, of course, offer certain values to them as well, right? So if you don't value them, of course, your action won't be grounded, yeah? So I believe that, they are the holding factor for me in terms of being held grounded.
Sorry about that, guys. So it seems to me from the both of you that whatever keeps you grounded, whether it's your family or, as Andrew mentioned, it could be your faith, is very important because when the ship gets rocky and you might feel a little bit overwhelmed, it's those people or it's that particular thing that keeps you grounded, that allows you to be sane, that allows you to function and show up for the community that you're representing, right? Right. So we're going into, in our title, we talked about Yaad and abroad. So we can't talk about Yaad and we can't not talk about Christmas traditions that shape us. So I want to talk to you guys about the festive season that we all love, Christmas. So what is a Christmas tradition or memory that is most meaningful to you and why?
Well, the true meaning of Christmas to me,
Mhm.
besides of course, the faith aligns, the celebration of, the birth of Jesus Christ, and of course, celebrating Jesus Christ. But I think Christmas overall speaks to love. And of course, God is really a reflection of love. And of course, what I love about Christmas is that Christmas, I just feel love in the air. The seas, I don't know if it's a coolness. I don't know what it is specifically, or how persons go about coming together. If it's one time we go see the family member, it's not even summer, it's Christmas, right? I think, that gives a true meaning to the season itself, right? For me, though, what I used to look forward to, a younger growing up, I don't know if Daniel remember these things. It comes with the age. But Grand Market, yes, I used to look forward to Grand Market so much, and not only Grand Market, Grand Market without the phones. When I was growing up, the banger phone, Nokia, the 9930, that's it. And
Mm,
of course, the
3310. Yes.
3310, the Ericsson, Sony Ericsson, I used to have to put in the tones, record the beats that was transitioning in my time. And that time, you're in primary school or you're in the lower farms in high school, you don't think about getting a phone. So I remember when I used to go to Grand Market and my mom and my parents and my older siblings would say, all right, Andrew, meet me back here at 1 p.m. 1 a.m., sorry. and I have to be continuously looking on the somebody's phone. What time it is, or ask first what time it is to reach back at this point, 1 a.m. And of course, going out there with your friends and enjoying the festivities. It's just something that I always reminisce on, and of course, think back on the true culture of Jamaica, Grand Market, or the true culture of Jamaica's Christmas, yeah. And I remember even going with my grandmother's community, right, which is a more of a rural community. I come from a rural community, but my grandparents' community, I should say, more of a rural community. 1 p.m. in the afternoon, when you hear the fife start to sound up top road, we call it top road. Even if you're hungry, all of a sudden you're not hungry again, right? Everybody wants to stop what they're doing to go to the central location, to the merry-go-round, the John Kuno, all of these nice rides. And of course, these usually be a once in a lifetime opportunity. Now things are more accessible. Yes? More things are more accessible. It is so easy to go to an event where merry-go-round is, or a bounce about, and it's a lot different when I was growing up. But of course, this festive season itself, that level of togetherness that it brings, sharing meals with persons, laughter, seeing family member, connecting, it's refreshing for a new year. As Danielle have said, creating that theme to start again because you're now re-energized. Yes, man, these are some of the few things that I looked forward to when growing up in the Christmas season. And of course, I'm not too old now, still looking forward to see what this Christmas brings. And of course, one of the things that I am very invested to do this year is to bring love from the east to the west, because we know that the west have experienced the Hurricane Melissa. And of course, I believe that everybody should actually feel like Christmas. And of course, I want to do my part through the National Youth Council or any other platform I serve to bring that love. I want to use the opportunity now to also announce that the National Youth Council of Jamaica would have joined with the Cool 97 FM and the Airtel team to do a collaborative relief effort called Operation Restore. So we're going to a community called Lambs River. Not sure if person know Lambs River. It's a community in Westmoreland, hills of Westmoreland. You pass New Market, go up, right? And of course, we're going there on the 22nd of December, which is next Monday. So persons who are interested, please reach out to the platform. We're open for volunteers, and we'll be giving back sanitary items, food packages, things, infrastructure development, a lot of things, right? So yes, I was going to squeeze that in. So yeah, of course, so this Christmas, I realize that Christmas nowadays becomes more meaningful. I'm more deliberate in ensuring that myself enjoys the season, and of course others, I can bless others in enjoying the season as well. Yeah, I think I've said enough in terms of that.
Yeah, man, Andrew sound like him have 2 Christmas each year. The amount of things he mentioned. But I have to agree with you though. It's remembering the reason for the season. And of course, a great place to spend Christmas or go around Christmas time would be to go to church and connect with everybody. I think a big portion of my Christmases have been just spending time with family. I usually go visit grandma and so on, and go church with grandma as well. It's always, I think, a good time to just be able to reflect on how much you have gone throughout the year, how much God has brought us all through, honestly. Because we don't have to ever get through anything positively, but we have been able to, and that is a blessing. And so big memories I would have would really be my godparents always threw a Christmas party each year, and so that's always a big highlight for us to go to. And yes, as Saniq said, don't forget the food, guys. Yes, food is big big part. Them said them have them walrus and them different type of meat on the plate. So that's been big for me. But also, as Andrew said, I think it's very important to recognize that the place we are in as a country right now is a difficult one. And I've visited different parts of the island, mostly speaking to young people, to be able to put their views together and share for the rest of Jamaica to hear how young people have experienced this hurricane and what some of those ripple effects are, and what young people are looking for from the older generation and from policymakers, etc. But one of the things they've said that really stuck with me was just Christmas this year is going to look different, especially for those who are in Westmoreland. They had shared it's like the things we'd normally be able to do, we can't do them again this year. There's no electricity in some places still, or still no access to running water. So interestingly what they shared within that though was because you don't have your phone, you don't have those types of stuff anymore. It's like it's also an opportunity to again kind of remember the reason for the season and connect more with family and friends and neighbors. Some of them say it's the first time they might talk to some of these neighbors in a long time because everybody is going through the same challenge. And so when you're going through crisis, it requires us to be more united and to stick together. So I think that that's going to be a very important part of this year's Christmas celebrations, just looking at how we can be there for each other and be a bit less focused on the typical, how much can I spend, how much can I buy for myself, or big fancy gifts that may not be needed per se, and see how we can reallocate some of that towards those who need it the most.
Interestingly enough, Danielle, I think you just answered the question I was about to ask next. What does Christmas 2025 feel like for you? And it's more so about reflecting on others and how you can help them. And on that note, I just want to highlight over again what Andrew said on the 22nd of December, which is Monday upcoming. They're having a relief engagement with Cool 97 FM.
Yes.
Right. So if you're interested in volunteering, reach out to Andrew so you can be a part of the change and help Jamaica to recover. So on that note, Andrew, go ahead.
For the person really at a short notice, where we're going to also have an effort this Sunday after the 28th, right? I will share further details to the platform, the National Youth Council of Jamaica, NYCJ, that's on Instagram, and of course, you can keep the engagement. Yeah.
Amazing. So with that being said, Andrew, would you like to share as well, what does this Christmas feel like for you, Christmas 2025?
Christmas 2025. I must say that I'm one of the persons, and I'm not sure if everybody is still in that phase, that has been highly affected mentally by the Hurricane Melissa, I must say. I think one of the reasons is because I went down there very early. I think the day after, when the roads were still blocked and everything. I went down to Westmoreland, to the western side, and I saw how catastrophic the damages were. And for that, I've been in a mental. I was trying to stay strong, of course, and try to convert that that mental damage to a positive by giving back. So for this Christmas, I'm really invested again in doing relief efforts, right? So I would mention one. I'm still open to more. Besides that though, the Christmas day, my family plans to come together to have a Christmas dinner, and that's about it. So my mom, my families from overseas, everybody coming together to have a Christmas dinner. And that's usually do more, but of course, because of the deliberate effort in being a part of relief efforts, I want to, of course, pivot there and do more of that for this year. Right. So for this Christmas, again, it's nothing much. It's just a different form of giving this year. Yes, I usually give, but this year is more deliberate to the western side of the world. So that is what I'll be focusing on this year. And I also want to use the opportunity to tell the person that are listening that, there's one thing I don't like about Christmas, right? Or what Christmas reminds me of is that persons usually give a lot during Christmas. Yes, that is good. But after the season, we go back to regular programming, yes? It should not be a seasonal thing. Yes, giving should be a year-long thing, and the more we give, when we can, not saying not to give too much or out of your reach, but whenever you can give and whenever you can serve, always put yourself up. It should not be a Christmas thing only, yes? So I was imploring persons that are listening to, give as much as they can throughout the year, not only during Christmas time. But for me, this year, relief efforts. That's what I'm doing this Christmas. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that, guys. Technical issues. But thank you so much for sharing, Andrew, what Christmas 2025 feels like for you. And we're going to move into a little segment that I'm so excited to hear. So we have a message from our forum sponsor, Juici Patties, and they want to share a Christmas message with us. So just tune in and listen to hear what it is.
As we approach the end of another year, we at Juici Patties celebrate the incredible energy, efforts, and passion of the Serenity Resource community. This forum has been a remarkable catalyst for change, and we are proud to share in your journey. This Christmas, let us take time to embrace the spirit of the season: joy, connection, generosity, kindness, and love. May these qualities remind us that even our smallest acts of kindness can spark the greatest impact, and your ideas, projects, and conversations continue to build opportunities for all Jamaicans to thrive. Though Hurricane Melissa's aftermath still challenges many Jamaicans, we are reminded that resilience, compassion, and solidarity shine brightest in the face of adversity. As we gather with loved ones, let us support each other, believing in brighter days ahead. May this season bring comfort and renew our strength to rise above adversity and work together for a future filled with promise. From all of us at Juici Patties, happy holidays and keep safe.
Thank you so much to our forum sponsor for that heartfelt message. That was so kind. Thank you for recognizing the work we do here at SRC. And of course, thank you so much for sharing your message with our viewers. I'm sure that they appreciate it. So we're moving right along. We talked a bit earlier about, the vision board season and transitioning into the new year. So let's talk about hope notes for 2026, right? So let's go into a bit of moment for reflecting on what's to come. So what is one hope you have for yourself for 2026?
Well, so my theme for 2026 recently came to me. Usually doesn't come this early, but it has. And so I've kind of named it circling back. And I know we typically use that in like, the professional space to mean that you're coming back to some work or so on. And so it's kind of a play on words, but in this circle back, it means, I've now finished my master's abroad and I'm back home. And I've just been having a lot of full circle moments this year where I see institutions and people that have poured so much into me and my journey and have allowed me to reach where I am today. It's like for 2026, I want to be able to circle back and go back to those spaces and, kind of volunteer or donate time or, go and speak to young people at different schools, etc. To kind of let them also hear things that I wish I heard at that time, or just to be able to pour back into spaces that have really poured into me. So that's a big focus for me going into 2026, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Mhm. Yes, yes. All right, so I didn't take the approach as Danielle. I don't usually have a theme for the year, but I think I have a topic, and I'm going to create a theme from the topic, and I want to call 2026 for me the pivot. Yes, I want to call 2026 the pivot. I mentioned earlier in the discussion that 20, I'm really transitioning by default though, out of the whole youth leadership sphere, right? And of course, I want to now pivot in professional leadership. So going forward, my hope is to continue to grow as a leader, and of course, remaining authentic, grounded, and purposeful, right? I don't believe that my leadership only it caps at the youth level. I believe that, based on what I would have learned over the years, 2025 and before, that I would have garnered some valuable experiences and, of course, create a wonderful network, and, of course, in a position to now move forward and pivot in terms of national leadership and professional leadership. So for 2026, I'm going to be focusing on that transition. I will be focusing on that pivot. And of course, I'm looking forward. I'm excited about the journey. And of course, I'm going to give it my all. And persons will be able to see me in different light, but also in a positive light.
Well, you guys, it's 2026 sounds festive already. We have circling back, and we have also what Andrew mentioned about. Sorry, yeah, Andrew mentioned about shifting to professional leadership. So thank
Pivot.
you guys. Pivot to professional leadership. So I also want to ask you guys, what is your hope for Jamaica's youth as well as your community or even the world at large? We talked about from Yaad to abroad, so we're not limiting you to only the Jamaican community.
Yes, so my hope for the Jamaican youth is for them to build up a sense of, confidence in whatever they're doing, know that they're valued, right? And of course, remember that whatever they think, it is possible, and they can be the first to achieve it. They can be the first to put it forward, right? Sometimes we believe that we have to put ourselves in a existing rubric, or if it's not already established, okay, it cannot work. right? Everything that is happening now is started somewhere, and you can be the key catalyst for the change that you want to see. So yes, you think about local platforms. Yes, they are all possible. They are all there for you to serve. You think about the regional platforms. Yes, they are all there for you to serve. The global platforms, they are all there for you to serve. But whenever you get the opportunity, my hope for young people is that when they get opportunity, they serve with vigor, they serve with dignity, and they serve with a high level of efficiency. Don't waste any opportunity that is presented to you. You may have one chance to prove yourself. You may not get another chance to. It is that serious. Sometimes your reputation at a specific platform, you be the person not senior, you get the opportunity, and because you're not invested, you didn't really want to do it. You just take it as an opportunity and say, okay, that's another thing. I saw everybody coming through this platform and they did not do anything, so I don't have to do anything either, right? You can be the change for that. That way, you have to be mindful that persons are senior. So my hope is for them to know their value. Yes, it's really to know their value, and of course, when they are able to recognize that, then representation at every level, including U level, will be amplified.
Yeah, I think I have similar thoughts around this in terms of my hope for Jamaica's youth and all young people overall, really. But I think specific to us, because we're going through this difficult moment as a nation, I liken it a lot to COVID. I think it's worse, but I think it brings up some similar emotions from that time. And when we're in a difficult period like this, it's also, an opportunity for persons to step up. And so I think this is a moment where we're going to need young people to be stepping up in different ways. And they already have been in their communities, organizing relief efforts, going and listening. Some of them said they just go and listen to, especially like the elder persons within their communities, etc. And those are inspiring, moving stories that can really stick with people for their entire lifetime. It's something they'll remember forever, the fact that you were there for them at this crucial moment in time. So recognizing that we're in a crisis allows us to also recognize that that means there's just even more opportunity to help and be that kind of beacon of hope and light. So my hope for our Jamaican youth is that they recognize their value, their worth, the value of their voices, and being able to speak up and speak out about what is needed. And I hope that they have the courage to step forward and step boldly out there.
Well, and strong.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing what your hopes are. And if you guys are the leaders in charge and this is what you have placed on your heart, I'm pretty sure that the Jamaican youths were all in pretty good hands. So we're going into a rapid fire festive round, guys. So I'm going to ask you a question and just tell me what your response is, and we go from there. So we're going to start off the session, right? Cake or sorrel?
Sorry.
Cake.
Cake? Okay. My answer is sorrel.
Yeah, there's only one right answer. Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry. All right, so let's go again. Christmas morning or Christmas dinner?
Christmas dinner.
Dinner, yeah, dinner.
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 Okay.
All right. So, favorite Jamaican Christmas song?
This is not even Jamaican, but I love Mary Did You Know. I'm obsessed with Mary Did You Know. That goes on repeat in my household. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Christmas in the sun. Now it's the Christmas season and the fun can't done. Yeah, very good.
All right.
Classic. All-time classic.
Yeah, a classic. Okay, so let's go on to the last one now. One word to describe Christmas 2025. This one not so rapid.
Restoration.
Okay, I like that, Andrew. Restoration.
Restoration.
I think I'll say reflective. Yeah.
Yes.
So
dinner. Yes.
oh, we have a comment here. Sanik said dinner, and I agree with you. Of course, Christmas dinner, because we want our plate to be international. As Danielle said, some people gonna have walrus, all sorts of things on their plate. Shakira said, "I feel so young."
Sorry, Shakira. I think that's because of me. My bad.
Annabelle agreed with her. She said that Shakira, we are young. And she had a laughing emoji there. But that was a fun session with you guys. And I want to go back to say Starrel is the right answer.
Answer.
Sorry, over.
Only one correct answer. Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
So,
sure.
or,
I,
and
I'll lead. I'll lead.
go ahead.
I'll lead. I'll fall. I
Okay.
mean,
It's
sorry
good
for
to have
it's
you on
very
this
close.
side.
But I was thinking that if Daniel has the cereal and I have the cake, we can work together.
True.
All
True.
right. We talked about collaboration earlier,
Yeah.
so that's not a bad idea. All
Yeah.
right. You redeem yourself, Andrew. Redeem yourself.
Look at that. Thanks.
So what can I say? It was a lovely conversation. You guys were transparent and honest, and I think that went a long way for those watching and for those who will catch the replay. So to wrap up this forum, I want to say a sincere thank you to the both of you, Andrew and Danielle, for sharing your stories, your insights, and your hopes so openly. Your journeys reminded us that it's not just about having power and being a leader, but it's also about truly connecting with those who you serve. It's a matter of impact everywhere you go. So thank you once again for being so honest. And of course, we cannot go without thanking our sponsor, Juicy Patties, for our heartfelt message that they delivered. And Sanique said, I had so much fun. And I agree with you there, Sanique. It was so fun, especially the rapid fire segment that we had there. But yeah, Juicy Patties, thank you so much. It could not be a Youth Forum episode without you. And to everyone who tuned in, honorable mention to Sanique and to our other viewers who commented and engaged with us tonight. Thank you for being a part of the SRC community. We appreciate you and value you so much. And as we head into the Christmas season, whether you get to choose for yourself, whether it's cake or cereal, we look forward to being a part of your 2026. Let's carry forward the hope. Remember that we are not just in a season of giving. Next year, also, we will continue to give and pour into our communities. So let's continue with hope, purpose, and responsibility to continue building stronger communities and, most importantly, creating space for youth voices to lead and where you feel heard. And don't be afraid to go on YouTube and go to SRC's channel and sit down and watch one of our episodes while you indulge in your cake or your sorrel or your nice food. Go ahead and replay and watch. So on behalf of Serenity Resource Connector, I'm Clevena Brown, your Youth Forum host. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you, hearing you, and interacting with you in 2026. Thank you so much and have yourself a great night.
Bye.
Shakira said thank you all.
Big up Shakira.
Go, Shakira.
Yeah.